Well, it seems like Marvel Studios might be learning the lessons it really needed to understand. Recently, Marvel executive Brad Wonderbaum, who's in charge of Marvel streaming and television, talked a little bit with Entertainment Weekly and gave some very serious insight into Marvel's future television plans. He also talked a little bit about Agatha and Vision. So let's take a couple minutes to talk about what he had to say about the future of Marvel television and how it appears to me there are some really big changes on how Marvel is going to be doing their streaming shows. Now, I think it would be unfair to say that Marvel Studios' dive into the streaming platform has been a failure. I'm actually doing a rewatch of Phase 4, and quite honestly, WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, well, they replayed better than they did the first time. So Marvel has some good TV projects, and I haven't even gotten to Loki yet. Now, one of the problems though with some of these TV shows is that too many characters have been introduced. This was indicative of Phase 4 in general, and then those stories have not continued to go on, keeping us in touch with those characters and creating some disconnect. There have also been a few shows that completely missed expectations, with Secret Invasion at the top of the list of things that have disappointed fans. Now, this narrative led to Daredevil Born Again getting a complete creative overhaul, and the studios changed to start taking a traditional approach to telling stories on the small screen. Rather than making them like movies, which is something pretty much all the Marvel series did, they are now going to be produced like a traditional television series. Now, talking with Entertainment Weekly, Marvel's head of streaming, television, and animation, Brad Wonderbaum, shared some pretty interesting insights and details into this new direction for Marvel Television. In that interview, he said, "We are thinking about television really more like traditional television, where they could last multiple seasons, where we can see the characters brew in the culture for hopefully many years. One thing we are doing is we're developing a lot of shows now simultaneously. So in a way, we're making television in a more traditional style where we are going to write multiple pilots and show Bibles before we decide what we want to produce and actually bring to the screen, which gives us an opportunity to experiment and also plan all sorts of different Marvel sandboxes." Now, honestly, what Wonderbaum is saying here is a huge change for how Marvel Studios was doing this. Pretty typically, all of these Marvel shows, particularly in Phase 4, were more or less a Marvel movie. The character was laid out, the show was laid out as kind of a one and done, probably Moon Knight being the best example of this. And Marvel clearly had no plans for multiple seasons of the show. They were intended to set up other Marvel films. And as the shows aired, well, it became more clear, fans really leaned more into traditional television, and Marvel has now made the adjustment. Now, what this means moving forward, I think we need to be really careful, because what it suggests to me is that shows that are going to be coming down the pipe, at least the shows we don't know about yet, will definitely be more traditional television shows and not designed to integrate or enhance the cinematic experience. Now, this doesn't mean these characters don't live or could appear in Marvel Studios films, but what it does mean is these stories are likely to be very self-contained and not require outside characters or interactions in order for them to move forward. Honestly, the interconnectivity of the Marvel Universe is what kept fans watching, and I understand why Marvel would want to keep doing that. But moving forward, I really do think they're going to go out of their way to make sure the television shows stand on their own. A good television series should appeal to people who even aren't traditional Marvel fans, and this idea that so many of these shows were basically a Marvel movie on Disney Plus with a Marvel movie budget, well, I think those things are what's going to go away, and you're going to see a lot of grounded, character-based storytelling in order to move the whole franchise forward, and I think Daredevil Born Again is going to be the first example of that happening. One of the interesting fallouts from all of this actually could be, well, news that never manifests. Wonderbaum made it pretty clear. They're going to write multiple pilots and sometimes even shoot a pilot before they decide to move forward. This means we're likely to get news of series that never actually finish production, pilots that could be produced we never get to see, like that classic New Warriors pilot we never saw, and lots of other information that might not come true after Marvel reevaluates it internally. So these are things fans absolutely need to be prepared for. What Marvel does in the future and what this means for some of these characters, we're going to have to wait and see. I do think there will be limited crossover from TV to movies, but it will be able to happen. It's just not guaranteed to happen with every character. Obviously, Marvel's making the adjustments they need to make. I am really glad to hear Wonderbomb talk about these new plans moving forward. He did go on to say that a lot of these series will have a sort of baton-passing aspect, the way they've done with this WandaVision trilogy that we're in the middle of with Agatha headed into Vision, or even how they did in the movies where Shane Black took the baton from Jon Favreau and the Russos took over for Whedon. I think Marvel's on the right path here, and I'm super curious what characters they're going to pull out of the catalog in order to populate this new small screen world that's definitely going to be a bigger story to tell. Who this ultimately is, we're going to have to wait and see.